So before I started this project, I had a parcel arrive from Let's Resin. Now I had been eagerly awaiting this package because I knew what was going to be in it, and one of these pieces was exactly what I needed for this particular project. Hiya, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. This is my first video of the festive season, the winter collection if you like. Winter is coming. I can't wait for this season. I love giving presents, making things and giving them to people. I just love it. I love seeing people's faces when I give them presents. Anyway. Last year, I made some snow globes. Now, I don't know if you remember the video, and I'll link it in the top left-hand corner, top right-hand corner, one of those. I'll link it in the top corner for you. But over the year, I've had a few views, and recently it's been growing because obviously it's that time of year. Now, I do seem to get a few comments such as, "This is too complicated. I don't have a lathe. How could I do it?" So I thought I'd do a couple of videos in the next couple of weeks on some simpler ways to make snow shakers. So this is the first one. So I hope you enjoy this video. Let's have a look how I got on with this snow shaker. So before I started this project, I had a parcel arrive from Let's Resin. Now I had been eagerly awaiting this package because I knew what was going to be in it, and one of these pieces was exactly what I needed for this particular project. The package included 2 new UV lamps from Let's Resin. This one is USB-C, nicely packaged, and once I've got the package open, it looks like a flying saucer to me, but look at that colour. I know it's not important, but I love the blue. The most important thing is it does 2 minutes, 3 minutes and 5 minutes. Yes, it's a lamp that does 5 minutes curing. Wow. Now this one, I could not wait to get my hands on. I knew it was coming and I couldn't wait to open the box. I had to have a look at the instructions briefly because I didn't understand it. And I was looking at the instructions without actually looking at what was in the box. When I looked in the box, it made sense to me. I had been told it cures at the top and the bottom. I didn't expect it to be in 2 halves. But when I pulled the leaflet away, it was like, oh, there's 2 and a acrylic sheet for some reason. I found out later what that was for. But again, it does 2, 3 and 5 minutes. Oh, look at this colour. This blue, shiny. Oh, I'm in love with this colour. Let's Resin, you've really pulled the stops out with this one, I can tell you. It's absolutely stunning. Now I did read in the instructions briefly that the 2 halves need to be clipped, what I thought, together. They don't need to be clipped together. You just have to make sure the pieces that connect are facing the right way. It's a bit like a positive and a negative of a battery. You have to make sure that they connect to each other. So you have 2 pins sticking out and 2 pins flat. And then, unlike me who tried to put it on back to front, when you've got it on the right way, they are magnetic. And how cool is that? It just slots together. Oh, it was just a joy to put that together. Now, the plug was an American adaptation plug. These are only available in America as far as I know at this time, but I'm sure they will be coming to UK soon. Let's Resin do like selling all over the world. So yeah, let's hope it's sooner rather than later. Now, the plastic sheet does actually go in the centre. Now, I put it on top of the clip. You don't. There is actually a slot. The acrylic sheet fits into slots that are either side of each half. So even if you just use half of this, it still has a slot for the sheet to slot into. I didn't have it in a slot, so I had to hold it to stop it falling out. The other item that was in the parcel is black epoxy resin. Now I know a lot of people have trouble getting hold of black pigment. You don't need it when you've got black epoxy resin. How cool is that? I just think Let's Resin are listening. They are acting on what we need. And I just love that. I love the fact that all these times that we're saying we can't get hold of black and now it's available. It's just brilliant. Thanks, Let's Resin. Now, I had a bit of an issue recently with losing some footage. Part of the footage that I lost was actually pouring this jar mould. Now, I have made this jar mould before, and I'll link the video in the top right hand corner that might help you if you need to know how to pour this jar. However, all it was clear resin. I packed out the centre because I put it in my pressure pot and I didn't want it to collapse. But it is just a clear resin pour. So I thought, rather than make it again to see me pour clear resin into the jar mould, I'd just show you the demould, because that's really the important part about what I'm making here. It's just 2-part Let's Resin epoxy resin, and it's quite straightforward. I used some isopropyl alcohol to demould, and I thought I'd leave you some sounds as well. This Let's Resin jar mould is really sweet, and it can be customised in so many different ways. Now, I was thinking at this point I was going to turn it upside down and use the bottom as the top. So what I decided to do was to neaten up the bottom, which I was going to use as the top, and put some clear UV resin to round it off. Now, I didn't want it like a bauble, I just wanted it to be a nice surface, and where it had come out of the mould it had a lip, if you see what I mean. So I filled it with clear UV resin and I popped it in for 5 minutes into my new machine, and I walked away knowing full well it's going to cure from top to bottom. Putting that to one side for a moment, I've put some UV resin in the bottom of this container, and I'm using some glow-in-the-dark gravel pieces that I used in the previous video, and again I'll link that in the top right hand corner. I'm also going to put in some glitters from Yvonne at Resin Supplies then, and this one is ultra fine rainbow sparkle. Everything that I use in this video will be linked in the description box below. This one is ultra sparkle silver strands, and it's absolutely one of my favourites. Unfortunately, Yvonne can't get hold of this one anymore, but I love it, so I'm going to use it. So I'm just going to give them a mix around. Remember, this is UV resin, the glow-in-the-dark grit pieces, and a couple of glitters. I'm also going to put in a tiny amount of silver white. I only need a tiny amount because I've got a small amount of UV resin and I need it to be see-through, not opaque. I'm going to add a little bit more UV resin, but I do want this to look sparkly white. And you'll see why in a minute. And I give it a good mix round. And once I'm happy, it's kind of a gritty white with lots of sparkle. And that's the idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spoon this into the bottom of the jar. Now I've decided to have the jar up the right way because of what I'm going to put in this jar. I'm sorry it's out of focus slightly, but my hand got in the way. I'll need it to be a kind of snowy covering, if you see what I mean, at the bottom of this jar. But because it's got grit in it, I needed a space in the middle that didn't have any grit in it, because I'm going to put something in there too. This little Christmas puppy I actually bought last year from a local store, and I was planning to use it then, but I never got round to it. You know what it's like. So he's going to go in the bottom of this jar in amongst the snow, and I'm just going to try and pack it round him a little so it'll hold him in. I really do want him to be nice and secure in there. Once I'm happy that he has enough packed around him, then he's going to go into the nice two-sided curing machine for 5 minutes. I do like the fact that I could just walk away and leave it for 5 minutes instead of continuously pressing it 2 or 3 times. It just makes life so much easier. I can get on with other stuff. Anyway, coming to the lid, I have sanded the lid slightly because I'm going to put something on the lid and I don't want that to dislodge either. Now there was a lip again around the outside of the lid and I sanded it off because I wanted that lip gone. So I give it a little sand with 400 grit wet dry sanding paper and I'm going to put this snowman on this lid. Again, I have some of the white mix left, so he's going to have a little white snowy base too. You can put anything on these. I have quite a variety of different plastic pieces that I've cheaply bought from Amazon of all kinds of snowmen, reindeer, candy canes and all manner of things that would go beautifully on here. Do you remember the penguin? I'll link that in the top right hand corner. And again, I put it into for 5 minutes and walked away. Now, in case you hadn't realised, I'm planning to make this a snow globe shaker jar type thing. So I'm going to put an array of tiny pieces that I think would go well in any kind of snow shaker. And yes, I'm pouring them into my hand because I know what I'm like and I'll end up pouring the whole jar in at once accidentally. So glad I did do that. I have a mass of different types of things that you could add into snow globes, including these. Now these again are a little type of glow-in-the-dark grit that came from, I think, Wish many moons ago. And I just thought they would add a little something extra. The liquid I'm putting in is a 50-50 mix of distilled water and vegetable glycerine. Some people use baby oil and swear by that. You can use whatever you want really. I'm also going to add in some snowflakes, again from Yvonne at Resin Supplies Den. These are opal snowflakes. They are absolutely adorable. They really are sweet. And I'm putting quite a few in. I'm also going to put in some Hemway silver glitter. Now, I do find that when you're making snow globes, you need to get the right amount of additives. I haven't done that yet. I either put too much in it or not enough. And on this occasion, I didn't put enough in. I do also find that micro fine or ultra fine glitter does not work in snow globes. It clumps and looks like it's a foam. So don't use the ultra fine glitter. Use a chunky glitter. They work really, really well. Now I ran out of vegetable glycerine at the time, so I just topped the last little bit up with distilled water. I'm going to use UV resin around the screw part of the lid. And as I do not want this to leak at all, ever, I thought I would UV resin the lid completely tight. So once I've smeared the lid screw part with the UV resin, I screw it up really tight, make sure I've cleaned off anything that's dripped, and this time it's too big to go underneath the lamp, so I'm going to turn the lamp on sideways. Quick warning here, these lights can hurt your eyes, and I did cover this piece, so the light did not hurt my eyes, but goggles are definitely something to consider. And there he is. He's all done. Now, as I said, this is slowed down because there's not really enough sparkly bits in there for the shaker. So it could have done with more. Last year I overdid it. This year I didn't do enough. But I love the fact that it's glow in the dark as well. So in the evening you can see how bright and shiny he is. Isn't that puppy just adorable? I do love dogs. I absolutely adore dogs. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope it helped you in some way. And next week I'm going to show you a different way to make snow globes. Anyway, have a great week. Happy crafting and bye for now.